back to the garden.
We're gonna plant taters today. We're not gonna plant them like your grandpa planted them.
First, it's important for me to just kind of give you a little backdrop before we go to planting these taters, because this is not the way I would suggest if you're trying to produce mashed potatoes for your year. Many of you that know me good know I ran Hicks Feed and Garden in town for almost 20 years. A lot of old timers, when I first started there over 24 years ago, used to come in and talk to me about gardening. They were the different type. They weren't, you could tell the ones that had heard the stories and was just passing them versus the ones who did. And a lot of them told me that in this area in Florida, they grew potatoes year round when they were growing up. Their parents, it was a staple of life. They did put up potatoes. Said they kept potatoes growing year round. Said during the cold it would kill some of them and they'd come back. Said sometimes they'd go out there and pull dirt up over them or pine straw and cover them. And that's what I'd like to do. So instead of just planting rows and rows of taters, I'm gonna experiment this year. I'm gonna do a few beds like the one I'm fixing to show you, and I'm gonna scatter them different places, because that's what I want to get to where I can do. I want to be able to grow taters year round, harvest taters, let them cure a little bit, put them back in the dirt. So I'm gonna give you my experience with taters first. You know, I hear all kind of different stories about cutting them and doing different things. When I first started growing taters years ago in my original garden, working in the store, a lot of old timers told me you didn't have to dip them in soap and stuff. So whatever, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. I never did that. Always on the day I planted, I cut my taters in 4 pieces, one that size, I cut in about 2 pieces. Sometimes they'd have eyes like these, sometimes they wouldn't be, but like this. Always had good success with them. Another factor that's going to differ in my garden, I want to be able to produce them year round. I'm not going to be out, a lot of these are not going to be where they're watered. So some of these beds we're putting in, we just had 2 inches of water yesterday. I'm gonna put water around them. I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do them when I put them in. And after that, they're gonna make or they ain't. I'm gonna have a couple beds that I can take care of, but I wanna try some in sun, some in shade, some in partial. I wanna see what'll work around my place and plant them along my trails. A little backdrop into it. So let me bring you in here a little closer and I'll show you what we're gonna do. Now these particular potatoes here are a red variety. Potato this size, I don't get too carried away. I just cut it into 4 pieces. There are white varieties. You just have to do the research, see what you need for your area. I bought these at a store over in Madison. We're gonna plant these in the ground with these eyes looking up. This is where your plants are gonna come from, and this looking down. The wider you make these furs that you're gonna put these in, the better they'll do. The deeper you make them, the more you let them grow, you'll get bigger taters if they're designed to be bigger. So I don't really care about bigger taters. I like the smaller, what some people call new potatoes. So I don't mind them being crowded. Let's walk over to the hole. Now the hole you're looking at here, I dug with a shovel. It's about 12 inches wide and about 6 inches deep. That's the depth we want. Traditionally, the wider and the softer your dirt, the better your potatoes are gonna do. You'll be much better off if you're trying to produce potatoes and you're not worried about the consistency and you just want mashed potatoes. The wider an area you plow, the deeper and the higher you keep piling your dirt. And I'll show you as ours grow what we're gonna do if they grow. Like I say, I just had 2.5 inches of water. I hope they don't rot. The wider you do, the better you are. The more you're gonna produce, the higher your hills are gonna be. You should have hills this high in the end. I hand dug these with a shovel. As if you've been paying attention to my channel, one of my main purposes is to show you don't have to have gas-powered stuff. You can grow with basic tools. And that's what we're looking to do. We're going to experiment a little bit with these potatoes. There are more efficient ways to grow potatoes. Baskets with pine straw, tires. You know, it's just a basic way to grow. This is what I want to try. So I hope you'll follow along. So I'm just going to start about 12 inches from the end of my row. You can use a story tape if you want it exact. And I'm going to drop one with the cut side down. Hang on, I'll bring you in here in just a second and show you. Just like this, we got our row here. The eyes looking up. These eyes right here looking up. The meat side down. And you know, a lot of people do cover them on the bottom with lime. Some people with sulfur. I did try experiment and see if there was a difference. I didn't find no difference. So I don't do that. Once again, and in doubt, it wouldn't hurt. They did grow when I did that. So, you know, it wouldn't hurt to put them on there. Now what you see in front of you here is the wheelbarrow, which I dug up the dirt out of this ditch that we just put these taters in. The trailer that you're seeing is some leaf mold. I got this from a neighbor. This is not actually compost. I'm making some compost, but most of my compost at this point, I have things off my tropical plants that I used herbicides around. We're trying to get away from the herbicides so that we can get organically, kind of, sort of. But I got this stuff that my neighbor was so gracious to give me. He'd had it piled up, and it's, I call it a poor leaf mold. It ain't quite to that point yet, but we're gonna use it and we're gonna mix it up. As we mix it, you can see, we're gonna pull these roots out as we go. That way we don't have to worry about the roots. You don't want anything that your potatoes got to compete with. It's gonna cause you problems, cause you deformity. The biggest problem that you have with potatoes is ants. You got to keep an eye on them. Now in place of this to mix into your dirt, you could use black cow manure, anything that gives you some organic material for that to feed on. You don't have to get into making your own compost. We're gonna take it now and cover the top of our beds with it. I'm not gonna pack it down, I'm gonna kind of hill it up. You can see our taters in there. We'll just work our way down the bed. You study different things on whether to mulch potatoes or not. When I've grown potatoes in the past, I have mulched them at times. I base it on the weather. And as I told you, we just had 2.5 inches of rain here. So I'm not gonna mulch these at this point. I do have mulch in between my beds. If we go to getting dry, I'll come back and mulch it. Now we got it all in, we're just gonna lightly pack it. Now normally, you would come back and water this good. But as I told you, we just had over 2 inches of rain.
Is this where the
I'm not gonna water it.
Papa?
So we got our first row in. Now we're gonna move across and we're gonna do a few more rows in different places the same way. If you notice, that spot is in pretty good shade. I'm doing a couple experiments right here in the same spot. I purposely planted them. Everything I ever read said don't plant melons and taters together. I planted a few melons to the left of that. You didn't see them, but there's some Hell's Best cantaloupe. So we're gonna see what the outcome is gonna be on that. So let's move over to the next spot. Now this is another spot we've done the same way. This particular spot happens to be right out in the sun. So unless we get deer damage, we should be good. We done it the same way, 6-inch furrow, not quite as wide. We're gonna just cover it back over. We planted about 10 pounds of red potatoes today. We did find one white one in the bucket. As you can see, this is not the traditional way. If you've looked it up on others that grow, I'm not expecting to make as much as I should because some I planted in places where I can't get water and I'm mulched around them. It's more of an experiment. I just want to see what I can do in different places without very little care. I have put me a couple little patches in place where they're gonna get some water, so I'm assured that I will get some taters. I appreciate y'all joining me today.
Follow us on YouTube.
See y'all back next time where we're gonna plant something. I don't know what yet. Got a bunch of stuff coming.